Hey, what's up everybody? Thanks for joining me. This is a channel for do-it-yourself projects and home product reviews. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at some old childhood toys of mine, the G.I. Joe. And we've got several dismembered G.I. Joe action figures here, and we're going to be repairing the rubber band inside of them and essentially reattaching their legs back to their torsos. So to do so, I have some new G.I. Joe rubber bands. I'll put a link in the description below if you're interested in getting some of these. Obviously, they are brand spanking new and they fit perfectly into virtually any G.I. Joe, at least the ones that I have. So here's how to do it. We're going to be taking a look at the inside here. The torso, you can see the old rubber bands have degraded, hardened, and essentially snapped over the years. And there's my third victim here, just to give you a look. So the old rubber bands are indeed still attached up in there. Now, on the back of the G.I. Joe is a little screw hole like that. You might want to apply a little WD-40 if you need to, just a little bit. Let it soak for several minutes if it's stubborn at all. But generally, they should be able to unscrew without issue. Obviously, you'll need a really small screwdriver. You don't want to strip that screw out there. You can see it is really well formed. So again, don't strip it out. Use some WD-40 if you're having issues, and obviously wipe off any WD-40 that you use to spray. So I'm doing this with one hand here, so please forgive me, but essentially the screw backs out. Just a couple of turns is generally all it takes, and the screw pops out just like that. Small screw, so obviously don't lose it. Set that aside for a moment. Now the torso will separate. By the way, this G.I. Joe is super shiny. I put a layer of clear coat over it, and I'll put a link in the description below for a video on how I did that if you're interested. But the torso essentially pops off like that. The arms and the head all fall off, and you can see the old rubber band or piece of rubber inside there. So just a little tour of the anatomy for you. We're going to take our little tool and take off the old rubber band as shown, and you can go ahead and discard that. Alright, so the trick now is to basically put all these precarious parts, and by that I mean when you put the arms back on the torso, you can see that they'll just fall right off. So the trick here is to make sure everything's lined up and relatively secure with the rubber band in place. Okay, so how do you do that? If you use the front of the torso, you can see here there's nothing for the rubber band to really latch onto, right? It's gonna sit essentially just like that, but you'll have a problem if you do it this way. Obviously, this is how the rubber band will eventually hook up to the legs. Now, this particular G.I. Joe does not have a hip piece. That has been lost long ago. So I'll do this again very soon with a full one with a hip piece so you can see how that looks. But what we're going to do first is attach the rubber band to the legs like you just saw. Now, the back of the torso has this round cylinder, actually a good place for it to hold on to. Okay, so this is essentially what we want to do. And you can see I'm kind of struggling here, right? It's not really seating super well, and again, what do you do with those precarious arms and the head? How do you clip them back inside altogether? It seems like you need several arms to do this. Okay, so this way is not really working. So let me show you my little trick. The G.I. Joe will go on its back first. Again, the rubber should be attached to the legs, to the hook already, and we're going to take that rubber band and go ahead and put it over the little round cylinder on the back of the torso, as you can see. We'll align the head and the arms, and we'll take the torso and just kind of snap it on like that. You'll have to keep your hands over both sides of the torso because it's not screwed down yet, so everything could pop off if it doesn't have tension on it. So we'll flip it then over to the chest, insert the screw like you can see there, and screw it down. Voila. Alright, so again, this was the G.I. Joe without the hip piece. And we're going to be doing this again here so you can get an idea of how to put a full G.I. Joe together. But again, that little trick there going from making sure the G.I. Joe is on the back will align everything really well. Okay, so here is my second victim. We'll go ahead and back out the torso screw. And we'll just let everything kind of fall apart. Let's get rid of that nasty rubber band. Make sure that screw is safely set aside. Take the front part of the torso and set that aside for a moment. Alright, we'll take the legs. Now there might be a little bit of rubber band kind of gummed up underneath the hook there. Can you see that? So we'll pop that out. We will apply the rubber band to the hook on the legs. And then we'll take the hip piece and we'll slide it through. Now if your hip piece is not broken like mine, you should still be able to pinch and slide through like that. Might need to wiggle it just a little bit, and also feel free to use your screwdriver to kind of tug that through. Okay, and pinch it up kind of tight, press the hips onto the top of the legs like this, and this is kind of what you're looking at so far. Alright, so let's take the back of the torso. And by the way, before we do this, I'm going to make sure the arms are relatively straight. I noticed that if you position the arms in kind of a straight way, that they can kind of act as a brace. Because you're going to find that things are going to want to move and slip on you. Again, those arms and the head will slip out pretty easily. So you have to kind of position everything in a way that's relatively stable. Alright, so here's what we're going to be doing first. Attaching the rubber band to the torso piece like that. And you're going to hold it with one hand. I'm obviously holding it with two for a moment here. And I want to get things nice and straight for the most part. Meaning I don't want that torso piece to bend up at all. I want to keep it flat down on the ground. Okay, so look at this. We'll position the arms as shown. And we'll place the head, as you can see there. Oh, my arms kind of popped out. Again, this will be the challenge for you, right? Finding that sweet spot where the arms stay in position. Okay, again, keep things flat against the table or the surface that you're working on, and you'll take the upper torso and you'll kind of pin those three pieces in without letting go of the legs and the hip, right? You kind of pin it in. I'm pretty much there. I just need to find that where it just clamps down. Boom, there we go. You can see that gap sealed up on all sides. So I'm going to keep that pressure again on the torso area until that screw is secure into its back. So you insert the screw, give it a couple of turns, tighten it up. Do not over tighten, obviously. You don't want to crack or strip anything. And there it is, just like that. And you'll notice the more of these that you do, the faster and the better that you get at it. So I'm going to put one more together for you and give you a different angle. I think you have the gist, but let's do it one more time. This one's a little faster for you. So we'll take this G.I. Joe and back out the screw. Lay out all the pieces, pop out that old piece of rubber inside the hook in the legs. Take the new rubber band and put it inside the hook, and then slide the hips through the new rubber band. Use your tool to assist. Pull that rubber band through, press the hips tightly against the top of the legs. Take the back part of the torso, remove the old rubber band, and wrap the new rubber band around that little plastic mount. Put everything parallel to the surface that you're working on, kind of pinning everything down, keeping it flat with one hand. Take the arms, straighten them out. Again, to act like a brace of some type. Keep that back flat against the surface. It's going to want to pop up on you. Keep it flat. Position the arms inside the little socket areas there. And rest the head as you need to there. And then take the upper torso and pop it down, essentially trapping those arms and the head in. Keep pressure on the torso, pop the screw in the back, and tighten it up. And it is as simple as that. Pretty easy job, pretty intimidating if you didn't know how that worked, but again, it took maybe 20 minutes total to do all of my G.I. Joes. What would have been discarded are now fully functional G.I. Joes again for my kids to play with. Anyway, hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more do-it-yourself jobs and real product reviews. Thank you so much.